Welcome to another episode of Criminal Genealogy. I'm your host, Gwen, and I am your criminal genealogist. How are you doing? I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend. It is Memorial Weekend, and I will be having several new videos coming out. I did want to explain a little more about myself, as I did not add all this into my introduction video. So, I was raised in North Dakota. I lived there for 39 years. I have 4 daughters and 10 grandchildren. I moved to Illinois to care for my elderly parents. And I have been doing criminal genealogy for many, many years. I started my criminal genealogy blog back in 2014 or 16. I have a criminal justice degree. And I wanted to be one of those CSI people, or I wanted to work in the morgue. I wasn't sure which one. Neither one happened because life got in the way. I was a half a semester away from getting my bachelor's degree when I ran out of financial aid, and I just never went back, which I do regret, but it is what it is. Maybe someday I'll be able to finish it. Who knows? So today I wanted to bring you a story from North Dakota, and this story is about a woman, and let's just get into it. So the beginning of the newspaper article read, "Canfield mother gone mad," with a question mark. In a small town of Dawson, North Dakota, lived a couple with 4 children in 1934. A mother named Clara Augusta Thompson, who was married to Jonathan Franklin Canfield, the 23rd of January, 1915, in Sioux City, Iowa. They came to North Dakota, according to the census records that I found, in the late 1920s. She said that she feared her son was mad, that she feared the other children would catch it. This just goes to show you how little people knew about mental illness back then, and is why I wanted to do this story. The children. John, who was nicknamed Jack, and we will call him Jack in the video. Jack was the oldest, and he was born in 1919, and then Margaret was born the 21st of March, 1921, and Donald in 1922, and George in 1927. John Canfield was away on a trip to Oriska, North Dakota, and his sister was on the farm with Clara, but busy in the barn, it seems. Now, to add to the story, Clara was a school teacher. She attended Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa, before she married John. She also attended the Lutheran church and played the organ. So why did she feel her oldest child, Jack, was sick mentally? Did he do or say something to his mother? Or did she imagine it? I guess we'll never really know. A newspaper clipping revealed that he did hit her, and she had to run to the neighbor's house. But why would he do this? What did she do, if anything, for her son to slap her? The headlines read, "Crazed mother shoots her 4 children, then attempts suicide. She used a .25 automatic revolver on her children and then tried to hang herself at the clothesline." 2 children died instantly, Donald and George. The other 2, Jack and Margaret, were hospitalized for a long while. Jack was shot in the right lung and Margaret was shot in the head, but both survived. Insanity charges were filed against Clara. She told authorities that she was worried about Jack's mental condition and feared the other children would be the same. I couldn't even imagine the horror that John Canfield went through on arriving home on this awful scene. What does a father/husband do in a situation like this? You're going to be grieving your children that are dead. You're going to be hoping and praying for the ones in the hospital to survive. And then you have your wife who you love, have no idea why this happened and what is going to happen to her. So I felt for him through this whole story. I was like, that poor man. So Clara was convicted and found insane, and she was committed to Jamestown Mental Hospital in Jamestown, North Dakota, until her death in 1950. The 1940 census records show Jack also at the state hospital with his mom. I did some checking, and because the state legislature, these records were destroyed every 7 years. So we may never find out why Jack was there. Maybe what she did to him and his siblings triggered PSTD, maybe, because they didn't know much about that back then either, if it was even a term then. So who knows why he ended up there. So John and Clara both died in 1950. I have a very strong feeling that John forgave his wife for everything, and he loved her until the end. His wedding vows were right there, till death do us part. So Clara died the 9th of May, 1950 in Jamestown at the state hospital. She was 64 years old. John died the 21st of September, 1950. He was 63 years old. Margaret was in the Army from the 22nd of June to 1945 to the 21st of December 1945. She married Donald Hayes the 21st of July 1945 in Columbia, Georgia. She died the 16th of October 1985 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And Jack Jr. died in 1999. So I'm going to read just a few articles. Shoots 2 others before seeking to take her own life. Did it for the children's good, says Mrs. John Canfield of Dawson. Suicide attempt fails. Kidder authorities, Kidder is a county in North Dakota. Kidder authorities take the woman to Steel jail. Believe her unbalanced. The 25th of June. A farm mother who said, I did it for the sake of the children, shot and killed critically wounded her 2 other children, and then unsuccessfully sought to end her life. The woman is Mrs. John Canfield, residing a half a mile north of here. Apparently, while they were still in Donald 11, George 9, she inflicted critical wounding her daughter 12 and Jack. Both were taken to the Mandan Hospital. Mrs. Canfield, who in the opinion of the authorities became mentally unbalanced and was taken to the county jail, while authorities sought to find her husband, who was away on a horse-selling trip. Feared children's sanity, the woman said. She feared that her children, Jack, her son, would become insane and the rest might catch it, said the sheriff. And state's attorney of the Kidder County said that he believed that the killings occurred between 8 and 9 a.m. before the children had dressed for breakfast. The victims all were in their night clothes, and authorities said that Mrs. Canfield appeared nervous and remorseful when they arrived, but spoke coherently. And asked why she sought to kill her 4 children, she replied that she had been worried over their mental condition of the oldest boy and was afraid it was contagious, and dread to have him go to the state hospital for the insane. Her sister-in-law, who was in the barn when the killings occurred, arrived. Mrs. Canfield attempted to hang herself while her husband was away selling horses and had not yet returned today. A hired man was in the barn milking the cows, and Mr. Canfield's sister, who lived with the family, was saw her attempting to kill herself and stopped her. The two boys killed were on the floor of their bedroom upstairs. They were shot through the head. Margaret had been shot in the head at least twice. Jack had been shot through the breast. They were found downstairs, still in bed. Canfield is about 40 years old. The family had resided near here for many years. Then we have this one from June 27th, 1934. Canfield boys to be buried Friday. Two other children, victims of mother's madness, show improved. Funeral services for Donald and George Canfield, killed by their mother in an outbreak of madness, will be conducted at this Presbyterian Church of Dawson Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. No inquest into the deaths of the two children will be held. Coroner M.J. Ness announced their bodies be in state here at the Webb Funeral Chapel. Insanity charges planned against Mrs. John Canfield, the mother, by State's Attorney Benji of Kidder County, will not be filed until after the funeral. And while funeral arrangements for the two slain boys were completed, two other children, Margaret 12 and Jack 14, were reported definitely improving at the Mandan Hospital. They were also shot and seriously wounded by their mother. Margaret was shot through the head. The bullet which pierced Jack's right lung was removed by physicians at the Mandan Hospital Tuesday, and the boy stood the operation well. The physicians said his sister, Margaret, is still in serious condition, but was said to be showing improvement Wednesday. She was shot through the head. Mrs. Canfield shot and killed two of the children and wounded the others early Monday morning in their farm home. She told authorities she was worried about Jack's mental condition and feared the rest would be the same. Canfield children now out of danger. The 2nd of July, 1934, Bismarck Tribune. Out of danger in the Mandan Hospital Monday are Margaret and Jack Canfield, who received critical bullet wounds a week ago when their mother, Mrs. John Canfield, shot and killed their two brothers at the farm near Dawson. Attending physicians said that the two children were out of danger and making rapid progress. Jack 14 suffered a bullet wound to the lungs, and Margaret 12 was shot in the head and the neck. Double funeral services were conducted at Dawson Friday for the brothers, Donald 11 and George 9. Meanwhile, Mrs. Canfield was being held at Steele without charge, but State's Attorney Benji said that he expected to start proceedings against her Tuesday. Insanity charges are planned. Following the shooting, Mrs. Canfield attempted to commit suicide, but was dissuaded by her sister-in-law, who was working on the farm at the time of the shooting. She said that she had been worried about Jack's mental condition and feared the same for the other children. Mrs. Canfield is adjudged insane. Bismarck Tribune, 5th of July, 1934. Steele, North Dakota, July 5th. Mrs. John Canfield, Dawson farm woman, who shot and killed her two sons and critically wounded her daughter and another son, was adjudged insane at a hearing here and was committed to the state asylum at Jamestown. The committee conducting the insanity hearing was composed of the judge, a physician, and a lawyer. Meanwhile, at Mandan, Jack Canfield, 14, who suffered a bullet wound to the lungs, was released Wednesday from the Mandan Hospital, where his sister, Margaret, age 12, remains Thursday, showing continued improvement. Margaret received the bullet wounds in the head and the chest, and her physician having estimated that her chances of not being killed instantly were about 1 in 15 million. Last Monday, a week after the shooting, she had reached a point where she was out of danger. The shootings occurred at the farm home while the children were asleep. Mrs. Canfield attempted Mrs. Canfield emptied a gun at her children and then attempted to commit suicide. A sister-in-law stopped her. The 2 children were instantly killed and the other 2 critically injured. And then here is Bismarck Tribune, the 25th of September, 1950. Canfield funeral held at Dawson. Dawson funeral services were held for John Franklin Canfield, 63, local farmer and livestock man who died in Mandan Thursday. The Reverend Joseph Johnson of Jamestown officiated the Union Church. Interment was in the city cemetery at Dawson. Canfield services scheduled at Dawson, the Bismarck Tribune, the 11th of May, 1950. Dawson, funeral services for Mrs. Clara Thompson Canfield, 65, who died Thursday evening in the Jamestown Hospital, will be held in Dawson Union Church Saturday at 2:30. The Reverend Joseph Johnson, Jamestown, will be the officiate. Mrs. Canfield was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the 27th of November, 1885. She was a graduate of Minneapolis High School and attended Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa. On January 23, 1919, she and John Canfield were married in Sioux City. They came to North Dakota shortly afterwards and settled on a farm near Dawson. Mrs. Canfield was a member of the Lutheran Church. Her death was a result of cancer. She leaves her husband and 1 daughter, Mrs. Donald Hayes, from Bismarck. The body is at the Eddy Funeral Chapel, Jamestown. It will be taken to Dawson Saturday for the funeral rites and interment. So what are your thoughts? What do you think? I think it's a very sad story. I think it's a story that needs to be told. I think that these are things that people should be adding to their family tree. None of us live forever. So if you're not going to add it, who's going to? I add everything because I am the family historian. If it wasn't for me, a lot of things wouldn't be added to my tree. And then 100 years from now, when there is somebody interested in our family tree, it'll be there for them. So they can pick it up and say, hey, this is awesome stuff. And maybe they'll continue it. Just some food for thought, you know. This was their time. This was their lives, not ours. We're not here to judge. But it is a sad story. And there's a lot of families that have mental health issues that maybe we didn't know about. I know I'm pretty sure there's some in my family tree I don't know about yet. And I feel sorry for Mrs. Canfield that she couldn't have gotten the help back then that she would have gotten today. And her children would have lived. That's the sad part. And I think the heartfelt part of the whole story is her husband and how he stayed devoted to her. I think that is an awesome part. So I sure hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would be so kind as to like my video and subscribe, that way my videos, my channel circulate and it helps other people find them and subscribe. And I will be having another one coming up shortly. I am going to do a few this weekend. I'd like to do one for you on starting your genealogy and what records to start looking for and what documents to use to write all this stuff down on, files and things like that. So I'll do that this weekend. And then my next story is about the Wolf family, and they were also from North Dakota. So until next time, add those naughty ancestors to your tree. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.